It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast, breaking down for you the Australian property market. And a reminder, our email address. We love getting those emails. It might have a question attached, or you might just be telling us where in the world you are listening to us from. It is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Wow, look at that. We are into double figures for February the 10th. It is a Tuesday morning. Capital gains tax. Love them or hate them, they are a talking point. And back in late 2024, right in the middle of election noise, Treasury quietly crunched the numbers on trimming capital gains tax breaks. It leaked, it got brushed off, and everybody moved on. Well, so we thought. Now it's resurfaced again ahead of the May budget. Nothing is confirmed, but the signal's pretty clear. With housing affordability and generational inequality front and centre, tax settings that heavily favour investors are back under the microscope. It is definitely a wait and watch this space. If you don't want to wait and feel like a complete change, maybe something tropical could be what you're looking for, especially with the ongoing cost of going into the supermarket every week. Let's take you right now to Bali and catch up with Nathan Ryan from Bali Realty. And good morning to you, Ryan. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast. You know, this is the very first time we have, in all the years that we've been operating, spoken to anybody in Bali. So my first question is, you're an Aussie. How did you come to be there?
Good morning, Craig. Good question. I've always been in the real estate industry in Sydney, Australia. And in 2009, we were offered an opportunity to project sales, 2 large projects here in Bali. My father was already here at the time. And we thought, one opportunity to take the family and move to Bali. And we've been here ever since.
I want to talk to you about the inquiries because, you know, in these current set of conditions, as I talked about heading into the supermarket, the cost of living is extreme. We all live in it. Has that made the inquiry rate head upwards? Give us a flavour on what is happening in Bali from Aussie inquiries.
I think, Craig, over the last 18 months, the increasing costs in Australia is certainly impacting buyers we get inquiry from families looking to move to Bali to have a sea change. We definitely seen an increase in inquiry from retirees who think it's much more affordable to live in Bali, especially from Perth and the west coast of Australia, and also investors that are looking for greater returns than are available than from residential property back home. So yeah, the inquiry from Australia is certainly very strong.
It's a big diff, though, isn't it? Big difference from talking about moving offshore and actually doing it. So you must talk to a lot of people. They're sort of enticed because of the pricing, and we'll get to those prices in just a moment. But, you know, out of 10, you're probably, 50% of them are not thinking about it? Is it only a 20% strike rate?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of people come to Bali for sometimes a long holiday, or those that have been coming here for many years in a row and start to dream of having a property in Bali. It's a nice dream, but I would say the conversion rate would be more like 10 to 20% of Aussies that actually go ahead and make the move or purchase that investment property. So it's still a bit of a pipe dream for most Australians, but I think it's becoming more and more reality also for a lot of Aussies back home.
Before we get to the pricing, let's just look at the cost of living. How much cheaper is it in terms of going into the supermarket? You've got schooling for the kids, potentially, if you're taking kids there. Every other aspect of sort of daily life and that whole cost factor, excluding buying a property. How does that compare these days to Australia?
I think certainly groceries are cheaper than back home. Whenever I visit home for a while, I'll go back and see family. I'm surprised by the cost of groceries. So that's definitely one factor. Schooling here is, I would say, for the international schools, costing's quite similar to most private schools in Australia. So that's one big expense that I think Australians don't expect, is that the cost of schooling here is quite high. Things like your day-to-day petrol and getting around and staff and general cost of living items are certainly much below Australia. I wouldn't know the percentages, but certainly, much more affordable eating out in restaurants. Of course, there's the fine dining. If you wish to, you can go to the top-end restaurants and still spend what you would back home. But I think generally it is certainly way, way cheaper to live here in Bali than it would be back home in Australia.
Let's talk then some of the pricing and first home buyers. Let's break it out into sort of two cohorts. You've got the first home buyers. They are buying units big time in Australia. So if somebody's got 500,000 Aussie dollars and they want to get into an apartment living scenario in Bali, is it achievable?
Yeah, most definitely, 500,000. There's not a huge apartment market in Bali. It's still mostly dominated by villas. But you can find, say, one-bedroom apartments now starting from around 250 Aussie. And 500,000 Aussie will certainly get you a nice 2 or 3 bedroom villa in a good location. So most definitely 500,000 is certainly a great starting point for Bali.
So let's just work the numbers. Let's go to 850 Australian. What can that get you at the topper end?
850 Australian will get you, say, for example, a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom villa in Seminyak within 15 minutes walking distance of the beach, close to all shopping and restaurants and nightlife, etc. Perhaps on 300 or 400 square metres of land and a 250 to 300 square metre build. So you'll pick up a very nice villa for that price range.
What if somebody wants a little bit of space, maybe 1,000 square metres of land? What can you buy, in a reasonable area? In Bali, we're talking ARA, which is 100 square metres, so 1,000 square metres would be 10R. Property like that, you're starting to probably push up around $1 million to 1.5 million to say for that you'll get a nice 4-bedroom, perhaps 5-bedroom villa, again, well located in Seminyak in a prime location. So it does jump up quite a bit, and then the next level up again would be pushing up into around the 2.5 million mark is probably the more towards the top end that you're going to find around Seminyak, and that will maybe get you up to say 1,500 square metres and a nice 5 or 6 bedroom villa. We are in Bali talking with Nathan Ryan this morning. When we come back, I want to ask you, Nathan, what Aussies really notice in terms of when they first moved to Bali, they've bought a property. What are some of those comments that you are hearing about directly from the Aussies that have moved there? We're back after this.
Unlock the secrets of real estate and stay informed about the latest real estate buzz with hot market trends, emerging suburbs, and hidden gems. Don't forget to subscribe. We have so many episodes, all designed to help you better understand the constantly evolving and dynamically changing real estate property market.
It is a Real Estate Tuesday. Yes, talking across Australia. We're not in Australia. We're in Bali this morning talking with Nathan Ryan. He has been there for a while. He is operating out of Bali Realty. And yeah, coming back to that question, Nathan, what about that in terms of the amount of surprises that Aussies feel once they've been there for, 3, 4, 6, 12 months?
Generally, most people have a 6 to 12 month honeymoon where everything's bliss and life's good. But then I think reality starts to hit in. I would say the most common thing, and I'm sure it's well known to most of your listeners, is the traffic in Bali is quite intense and very heavy, certainly in locations such as Canggu or heading to Uluwatu and even around Seminyak. The biggest thing I would see is traffic becomes a headache for people. Just potentially the way government is run here and sometimes bureaucracy and getting approvals for certain things or how licensing works for villas or even simple as going and getting your driver's license. Certainly not like you would do back home in Australia. So I think that's probably the main things that you'll find that Australians perhaps sometimes struggle with after they've got through that honeymoon period.
What about the actual ownership? Are there rules and regulations? We've spoken, I think it was Vietnam. They've got a completely different way in terms of who actually owns the land. What's the situation with regard to that?
The market is dominated in Bali with long-term leasehold. So you'll find most property leases are somewhere between 20 to 30 years. So you own the lease sitting over the top of the property, and the original landowner, most likely Balinese, they retain the land, and you have a lease, which then at some point in the future you're able to then extend for another period of, say, 10 to 20 years. That is the typical property market here, which is a surprise to most Australians, where we have, outright ownership, but you'll find most of Asia is a long-term leasehold situation. So that is the major difference between Bali and back home in Australia.
So if you are building, 20, 25 years, if you're looking long term, you'd want that automatic renewal, that rollover with a built-in cap of just how much that could increase. Otherwise, you could be sort of high and dry after 20, 25 years if you have built a property.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's a really important point for potential buyers that are looking to move to Bali, is properly reviewing their lease and seeing what the option extension clauses are in that lease, and have a notary properly, read through those and explain them to them before they go ahead and make that purchase. Because there are instances where if the extension clause is not clear, then the ability to extend that lease can become quite difficult if the landowner is not willing to give that extension. So that's a really important point, most definitely.
And for people, locals that are living there, I would imagine that they wouldn't want to mix with the tourists. I lived on the Gold Coast, and the last place I would want to go is anywhere where the tourists were. Is that a thing in Bali?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, you'll find that the expats here and the long-term expats are certainly not looking to be located right in the heart of the tourist zones. So they're pushing further out, especially places like further north of Canggu, or into quieter regions where you're not going to be surrounded by not just Aussies, but tourists from around the world that are enjoying their holidays. So personally, same for me. I live outside the main tourist area of Seminyak, but certainly we like to stay within 5 to 10 minutes drive. So yeah, absolutely.
What are the top nationalities moving into Bali? Give us a read on that.
We're still dominated by Australians, the expats here. But there's a big Spanish contingent here, Dutch, obviously, with the history between Indonesia. We're getting some Europeans, English. There's a small amount of people from USA and Italians, French. There's a good expat community from all of those countries, potentially, so from Malaysia also.
Sounds like you're not going home anytime soon.
No, I'm quite set here, and Bali's home. And after 17 years, I don't see... I love to go home for holidays, but this is home most definitely.
Hey, Nathan, great to catch up with you there in Bali. I know it took a little bit of doing because we had a few technical problems, but you hung in there. Enjoy your Tuesday and stay in touch.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
We are more than just a real estate podcast. We cover a multitude of subjects, including property data, current buyer-seller sentiment, and the mood of the market. Follow each week all of the main talking points and know your property.
The vendors are, without question, they're benefiting from this imbalance in the market.
Yeah, well, we're 50% down on the number of listings that we had a year ago at the moment. That just goes to show you how tight things are. And over the last 4 months, my average selling price above asking has been $72,000. We don't even know what price things may go to.
Not that easy for people to sell their properties in this market because they're looking at where do we go to next and tend to often just sit there.
It's really difficult for homeowners, especially that want to do an upgrade or a downsize, because they're very worried that if they sell their place, they're not going to find something in time. And of course, they can't make a subject to sale offer when they're competing against, 4 or 5 other offers minimum. And they can't go and rent in the market because it's so hard to find a rental still. So it's really jammed up. It's a big juggling act.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.